Let's work on this zombie.
What you want? What you want? Come on.
Where I left you last, we thrown this skin on here, and I said I was going to go back and bulk it out a little bit. I did. I didn't film any of it. I went back and brushed on a little more cotton on top of this, made it a little bit thicker, and then I added some small torn flesh in here, and I did that just by putting little bitty small sections of cotton on here, gluing it down, and then brushing underneath of it and on top of it to make this small tore skin texture. And then I did the same thing along the bottom over here, just tacked it up and let it flip over. So I might as well move on to arms and hands. The arms won't be so bad. The hands, I hate making hands. I got some, this is 1/2" PVC and this is 1/2" conduit, electrical conduit. Same diameter, same diameter, it'll work just the same. So I want to make these removable. I'll have these up in here, and originally I was going to drill a hole all the way through. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to drill a couple holes and just be able to put some screws into this where I can back them out, pull the arms off, put the arms back in, screw it back down, hold them in place. That way we can put a shirt on this thing. It'll make it a lot easier. On that how to build a groundbreaker video, it's actually got like the length, or you know, how far down to measure to do your elbow, vice versa, you know, for your forearm and stuff. I'm not going to take the time on this one. I'm just going to basically guesstimate where we need to be. So we've already got like a section of the shoulder already here. So I'm going to use my own shoulder. And this is how I'm going to do it. I'm not going to come all the way up to here because that's where the joint is, right? We've already got this portion. So I'm going to slide down right about in here because that's about that same width as that shoulder, right? And then straighten this out. Where my wrist is at, right in here. We're going to go ahead and cut that off. About the length of my wrist. And then I'm going to put it back up and make a mark with a Sharpie about where my elbow would be or where the bend in the arm is going to be. So with this, with having this section here, this part here is going to be quite a bit shorter than this part. But it's fine because this section right here is the rest of the arm. So it'll look okay when it's done, right? Right. So I'm going to hold that right about my wrist. I'm right about the end of my wrist here, right there. That's right about where my elbow's at. I'm going to mark it right here. Arms. Alright, so right here, right where we got the little mark, I'm just going to take the heat gun. I'm going to heat all the way around this, and then just bend it and make her bend for her elbow. You could do a 45, or you could do a 90, or whatever, but if you're heating it up, first of all, the gases aren't good for you, so you really shouldn't do it inside like I'm doing it right now. But if you heat it up, you don't have to have necessarily a 90, or just you can bend it about any angle you want, position it where you want on your prop, and works a little bit better. And just like that, got it bent. Now I got to let it sit here and cool. Now another little trick, if you do this type of stuff, if you got a rag with cold water on it, or if you just go run this under your sink with some cold water, it'll go ahead and flash set that, and it becomes hard again, and you're good to go. That's holding shape now. This arm, I don't want this to be straight up and down, and I really don't want it bent either. Anyway, let's heat this one up. arms are bent. I'm just laughing at myself. We'll have a hand coming off here and another one right here. Those positions are decent. So now I'm going to drill some pilot holes in it so I can put some screws in it. The arms are tightened in, they're secure, you see that now. They should never fall out or anything like that, and they're removable. You can take them off and put them back on. No glue. We're going to tape up some newspaper on this thing. I'm going to go ahead and mark this. And the only reason I'm marking this is because whenever I start layering on the cotton balls and stuff, doing the mache work on here, I'm going to take these off so I can work all the way around it. That way I'm not restricted to working on it on here. I just want to make sure that I don't get any glue or anything past that mark, because that all needs to be clean, so it'll slide back up in there. And I'm going to go ahead and take this off now anyway to make it easier to bulk that up. We're just going to do a little bit of muscle here for bicep and a little bit on the tricep. It's not going to be much. Going to tape it down because this thing needs to look, you know, rancid and decrepit and rotten. I know I said I wasn't going to worry about the whole two-bone thing, but this was going to drive me crazy if I didn't, so I made one. I just took and rolled up some newspaper, taped it up pretty tight. We're going to tape it here and here pretty tight at the joints, and then just roller mache over it, let it lap down in, and it'll work. I'm a simple man, don't want a complication. I'm a simple man, don't want a complication. I really feel like once get a layer of cotton balls on that this looks kind of odd at the moment, but I think once we get some cotton balls on there, it'll be okay. There's a couple things that look something like arms that work. Hands, to do the hands. Like I mentioned before, I hate making hands, but they can make or break a prop. So anyway, I'm going to build some hands here. Normally I'd use some wire for the inside, like some coat hanger wire or whatever, to base the 5 fingers off of and all that good stuff. I don't have any extra coat hangers around right now or any other wire at the moment, so I'm not going to make a special trip to go buy any. I'm just going to use aluminum foil, wrap it up real tight, and then tape it. That's not the best structure in the world. It's vulnerable for getting weak when it rains and stuff like that, but it's what I got, and that's what we're going to use. And then they're also going to be a little bit undersized right now, because I plan on the skinning them to bring out the extra fullness of the fingers. So I don't want, I don't want to make one of these rolls already the size of the finger. That way I can layer up some skin on it, and then all of a sudden I don't have big bulky hands, right? I want to keep them I want them to stay uniform with the rest of the body. So anyway, I'm going to roll up some fingers, and I'll get back with you when I get done rolling them. We made some phalanges in clay. They're going to be some dead zombie phalanges for the zombie right here. Just tight rolled up aluminum foil. Basically, they're long enough that they're running all the way down my hand like this into my wrist. And some of them probably have to shorten up a little bit, but I want them like that. That way I can tape together the bulk down here at the bottom to create the hand, and then use the rest as the fingers and the knuckles. Hand with the aluminum foil, you can bend it too, but it'll work out just fine. I am going to go ahead and individually wrap all these with masking tape first, because Mache does not like to stick to aluminum foil very well. Let's tape up some fingers. And then, just in case you're wondering, I was holding the tape roll with my foot. So basically there it is. It's just laid out like your hand. And all I did was reference my own and basically made them the same size as my fingers, right through there. I'm going to wind up hot gluing in here and hot gluing these pieces together pretty tight here. Then I'll flip it and hot glue it on the other side. Then I'm going to run some tape across this and across the other way, and then hot glue down the center. And I'll set the other hands up the exact same way. All hot glued together, kind of in one piece there. What I want to do now is I'm going to fill this area with tape in through here, and I want to basically mark off where these base knuckles on your hand line up, because that's where I'll start the first bit of tape at, and then work my way back.
I'm a simple man, don't wanna complicate you, complicate you. I'm a simple man, don't wanna complicate you, complicate you.
Pretty much just went around it, kind of pushed down in, and sealed it off. I'm going to go the rest of the way down the hand. Now I'm going to build up kind of the fleshy part underneath. It's not going to have to be real thick because this is a withered out zombie, but I still do want to have a little definition in the palm. I'm taking the newspaper, just kind of going to roll it up, put it in place, tape it down, and I'll put another fleshy piece in over here, and then right across here, and just leave that, and then build our skin up over the top of that. Now it's got a little bit of a palm structure to it. This doesn't look like much right now. That's okay, because we'll layer this up with cotton and do the rest of that kind of detail there. That just gives us a little more of a base so we don't have to build up so much. And the biggest thing to think about when you're doing this, and I know we're not going to use clay, but especially when you use clay, this part's got to be quite a bit smaller than your actual hand if you're going for realistic size hands, because once you build your armature and then you start throwing clay and things on top of it, everything becomes bigger, everything becomes thicker, you know, so it throws proportions off. So if you're really trying to keep those proportions through what you're building proper, when you're doing this stuff, you really got to think about that. You know, this has got to be either undersized, or your outside layer is going to be a lot thinner, depending on what you're doing and what approach you're using. Well, since I'm making a big deal about proportions, we're going to have to make a little bit of changes to our arm. So if I just attach the wrist on here, that's going to be really a lot, the hand's going to wind up being a lot longer than, when you compare that then to what really my hand is, right? Those fingertips are going way past that. I don't want that. So, I'm going to cut down into this PVC right about into here. That way, and I'm going to cut a big chunk out of that. That way the hand can slide down into it. And then secure it that way. That'll move the hand back. It'll get everything back and make it closer to correct proportions. And I want to do the same thing to the other arm. Just going to use my Dremel. Cut through this, make a nasty mess. And we'll resecure everything. We'll get this one cut and we'll get the hands secured onto it. And we can start macheing and stuff from there. Anyway, we've got a good cut there. Now the hand's going to slide. Our hand's going to slide right down in there. We'll wind up taping this, macheing all that. And we'll put our little extra palm piece in here. We'll build this out a little bit more. And it'll blend right in with it. I'm going to go ahead and cut this back a little bit so I can tape it down into here. But that'll hold our arm, and that gets us the right proportions, or close to the right proportions. And I'm going to do the same thing to this arm. And we'll get these things put together. Both hands are cut, or both arms are cut. I'm going to add a little hot glue right down in here, just to kind of secure the hand to the PVC. Then turn around and rewrap everything with tape, and we can move on. Moving on, moving on, moving on. Alright, there we go. Our hands are stuck together. I'm going to stick these things back on, and where I got these knuckles marked out, I'm going to make some bends in the knuckles, get them in position so they look decent or have a certain pose to them. And then I'll probably pull these things back off and lay the cotton to them. So that puts a little bend to the fingers. You know, I guess a little more kind of action going on there. I think what I'm going to try to do is heat this up, this wrist area up with the heat gun. Put a bend in this so the wrist is kind of drooping down a little bit. Not so straight. I think we'll leave the top one straight, like he's kind of reaching out, but this one's going to be kind of down. I just think it'll add a little more interest to it. Well, I kind of burnt the tape a little bit. Stinks. But I like that breaking the wrist right there. I like the way that looks. A lot better than it did just straight out. So, much better. This down, that up. I like the pose. That looks good, so we can continue on with macheing this. The heat gun made everything loose. All that hot glue I used before, so hopefully my hand doesn't come apart. Let's hope for the best. Right now I'm just going to brush on paste and brush on a layer of cotton down. I'm going to brush it down pretty flat, pretty thick. I'm not going to try to really build anything up at this moment. I'm just going to use the cotton like that first layer of strip mache. I got cotton balls and I got my paste, so that's what I'm going to use. first base layer of skinning's done. Still got to do the hands, but all this stuff needs to dry up so I can grab a hold of this and flip it over and not mess up what we got to do. So, once again, it's time to dry. But now that we can hold this, I'll start working on the fingers. Let it run the skin layer on first. So far, the cotton balls are working just fine for those knuckles. I'm sure they'll shrink down some once they dry up. We'll see how that goes. I might have to put another layer on it. The palms turned out pretty good. A little meaty here. I got to do a little more detail right in through here, but that needs to dry up first. I'm going to put another layer on the arms. I want this crease to be a little more subtle than what that is. Yeah, these are pretty much done. Let these things dry up, and we may add some fingernails to this thing. We'll see. Hands dried up pretty decent. They're a little squashy. Palms are pretty squashy too. I'm probably going to have to really put some more Mache paste on this and let that soak in, dry even longer, and it'll harden up. Knuckles aren't too bad, but they're a little squishy. Gonna make fingernails tonight, so playing around and did this one, which doesn't look too bad. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that to all of them. In a nutshell, just taking a popsicle stick, cutting the end of it off, sanding it down just a little bit to make it a little bit thinner, and then taking a little cotton again and putting some glue on there and gluing it down, and just squishing the fingernail down into the cotton, and that makes it kind of go up around the fingernail and stuff, and makes it look like it's recessed in like your own skin. So the first one seems to work pretty decent. I'm going to try it out, make sure that it's kind of difficult. They want to kind of fall off, so you got to be careful with them. But we're going to try it and see if I can get them to work. Man, I got something in my eye. It's driving me crazy. I'm going to sand some of these down a little bit first, and then cut them up. Got the little fingernails cut out and kind of shaped up. So now we're going to apply the cotton, putting a little bit of paste on here first, basically just like everything else. Then I'm going to lay a little cotton on it, soak that down with some Mache paste, and then push this in. It's going to be hard to show you because my camera angles are bad, but when you push that down in there, that cotton rolls up over the top and makes that ridge like the skin's just up and around it. We're just going to keep on going on. So I'm just going to do the same thing to this one. Those look pretty decent so far. The real test The real test is going to be how it looks after it dries up, and whether it dries up kind of around it, or if they just look like they're sitting on top, you know, that type of stuff. So once it dries up, see what we need to do. May have to wind up adding a little more cotton around it so they feel like they're more naturally part of the hand. Alright, I'm going to make the other 5 fingernails. I'm not going to make you guys sit through and watch that. Get these things made. I'm going to let this set and dry, and I'll be back with you after this stuff sets up. So another day rolls by, everything dries up. It's not looking too bad, but I think I'm going to add a little more cotton around these edges to hide those fingernails a little bit more, and just kind of clean up the way that looks. And then I'm going to run some strands of cotton from the knuckles down so you can see, you know, these tendons right through here. And then I think I want to call them good after that.
I'm a simple man, don't wanna complicate ya. Complicate ya. I'm a simple man, don't wanna complicate ya. Complicate ya.
Got a little more around these fingernails. Gonna fill that in. Pull some ridges up here for the tendons on the top side of the hand. Once that all dries up, it'll blend in pretty nice. So all I did to fill that stuff in around the fingernails was brushed on some paste around the finger, and then a small bit of cotton, laid it in. I used a small brush this time, and then just basically did the same way I skinned it, and spread the glue on and just kind of manipulated it around it till it kind of filled out around those fingernails a little bit better. I'm going to do the same thing to this one. It doesn't need it as bad as the other one did, but it needs a little cleanup. And then we'll go ahead and add some more tendons onto this, and it should be good. And those are touched up too. They look quite a bit better. We got some tendons on the top of the hands there as well. Yeah. We'll let these things dry up, and probably going to call it good and start painting. So that's pretty much it on doing these arms. I think they're going to work just fine. So once again, thanks for making it all the way through. I appreciate it. And all you guys on the last one who made it to the end and commented end, awesome. It made me happy, made me day. I'm glad you guys watch all the way through. It makes it worth the while. If you're new to the channel and you like what you see, go ahead and subscribe. Hit the like button on this. Share it if you want. If you're new to the channel too, there's a whole bunch of other tutorials on the channel. Actual tutorials on how to do pumpkins and just a whole variety of different things. Just go search through the channel. You'll find quite a few different tutorials on there, from the basics of doing Mache to doing stuff like this. It's all there. So if you need ideas, whatever, it's all there. Go check them all out. Got to give a big shout out to, I think it's either pronounced Nina or Nina. Nina. I'm sure I butchered your name. She's another Patreon. I absolutely love the fact that you're there. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. For everybody else out there, if you like the channel and want to support in other ways, I do have a Patreon page. The link's in the description. Head over there. Show some love. It'd be great. But we pretty much have this thing wrapped up as far as building it. From here on out, we'll do the paint work on it, that type of stuff. And we'll get a shirt on it. And this whole top torso thing, this will be done. Ready to get this thing done. I've got some, I got to come up with a cool idea the other day. And I'm ready to start that project. I'm just trudging through this because I want to start this other one. I'm really excited. But until next time, keep making something from nothing.